Presented by Space Coast Daily. I'm your host, Zach Clark. With me, Orville Susan and Steve Wilson. Guys, we're going to do some quick hitters here real quick. Get your quick thoughts on some of these games. We'll start off with Melbourne at Bayside. Start with Orville.
Two teams 0-7 records. Melbourne lost last week to a district foe, South Fork, 35-21. Bayside lost a district contest to Okeechobee, 65-58, in 5 overtimes. What a heartbreaker for anybody in a sporting program to score 58 points and lose. I mean, what a football game that must have been, and the ups and downs on the sidelines must have been tremendous the whole game. But battle of two teams, like I said, that are both 0-7. You know what? I showed the Bayside Bears a lot of love last week and picked them to win, and they put up 58 points for me. I'm going to show them love again next week. I'm going to take them over the Melbourne Bulldogs.
All right, he's got Bayside. Steve, who do you got?
Somebody's going to walk off the field happy Friday night for the first time this year. The Bulldog team, we ask the question every week, which team is going to show up, the one that lost to St. Augustine by only 10 points or some of the other ones we've seen this year. Bayside Bears, they've just struggled all year long. We haven't talked about a lot of the individual players. How about Sheridan Archer rushing for 156 yards last week? Hendricks over 100 yards receiving. The Bears put up almost 500 total yards last week against Okeechobee. They found a little bit of offense somewhere, and I'm going to have to agree with my partner in crime here. I think Bayside's found enough offense to win the game. Melbourne defense is just flat wore out. They've just been on the field entirely too long this year. I like Bayside in a very close game.
Taking the home team. All right. Next game up, we have Okeechobee taking on O'Galley.
Well, we just talked about Okeechobee. They put up 65 points in 5 overtimes against Bayside. You got to think that maybe even this Friday night they're going to be tired, So that may weigh into the factor of how I pick. But they haven't won a game all year, and it took them, like I said, 5 overtimes. O'Galley lost a district contest at Jensen Beach last week, 36-29. O'Galley, Matt Wilson threw for 1 touchdown and had an 85-yard touchdown return. I think O'Galley gets back on the map this week. I've always liked Bobby Holloway and his defensive side of the ball. I think they'll step up big against Okeechobee. I'm going to lean toward the Commodores again this week.
All right, Steve.
I'm almost leaning the same way, as much as I hate to say it. Not that I hate to say it. I'm glad. I think O'Galley's going to win the game. The one thing that concerned me last week is they could not run the football against Jensen Beach. Their leading rusher was Jalen Shelton, had 33 yards, and they just couldn't move the ball on the ground. But I think Wilson throws the ball well enough. Okeechobee, you hate to bet against a team that scored 65 points last week. You say, well, you guys lost your mind. But I think O'Galley at home, with the balance they have offensively, is going to win the game. I think it'll be a close one, but I think the Commodores will win.
All right, guys, next game up, Heritage taking on Jensen Beach.
Heritage beat Sebastian River 28-15, and to secure at least a playoff berth, I believe, Steve, in Class 6A. That was another big game of the week right there. We're having a big game of the year every week. That was one of them with Heritage and Jensen Beach. Deshaun Mills, 2 touchdown runs, 32 and 43 yards. Josh Gaines, he had a 64-yard touchdown run and a 42-yard touchdown run. And then you throw in Kendrick or LeCedric King, and the 3-headed monsters there. They didn't put up the numbers against Jensen Beach that I thought they would, but you don't know. We weren't there, so we don't know how long they played or whatever like that. But I still think Heritage is the number 2 team in the county, and I'm going to give them the win over Jensen Beach this week.
Steve?
Yeah, Heritage played a good team last week in Sebastian River, so it's no real surprise they didn't put up monster numbers. One of the things Jensen Beach did last week, and we mentioned it, was they completely shut down the O'Galley running attack. Now they're not facing O'Galley this week. They're facing Heritage, who has more weapons. They have 3 or 4 running backs, including the quarterback Mills, that can run the football. I think Heritage is going to win the game by probably 3 scores at least. Jensen Beach can play with them for maybe a quarter or 2, but I don't see him competing with them for 4 quarters. The Panthers are going to win.
Next up, guys, Titusville at Rockledge.
Titusville and Rockledge both played district games last week. The Titusville Terriers took it on the chin to the Merritt Island Mustangs at home, 33-0. Rockledge beat district foe Satellite Scorpions 47-14. Rock gets win number 4. They've doubled the winning output from last year. They were 2-8 last year. They've already won 4 games this year. You have to like that. The Raiders with 28 carries or Jalen Mitchell, for the Raiders with 28 carries for 191 yards. You know, I like the Raiders here, and Steve mentioned earlier about Astronaut and a couple others have juniors and sophomores playing. The Raiders, very, very young. Next year is going to be such an exciting year when not only for Rockledge and Astronaut, but there's so many sophomores and juniors playing and freshmen now. You know, Holy Trinity had an 8th grader run an 85-yard touchdown the other night. You know, so
I think
next year,
Space Coast as well.
next year is going to be really, really fun to watch. But this year, you know, we've got the 5 guys that are in the line, and they just keep 5 teams that keep doing it. But I'm going to take the Rockledge Raiders. I think they are on a roll. I think Wayne Younger and his staff have them young men ready to go, and they're in the right direction. I like the Raiders.
Steve?
You know, you look at the Titusville Terriers football team, and they have some players. They really do. Davis at running back, DeReese at quarterback, Tommy Mack, the kind of utility all-purpose football player, but they just have not been able to put it together almost from the first week. They beat Sebastian River by 1 point early in the season, who's a good football team who gave Heritage Fitz a good portion of the game last week. But it just hasn't worked out like the Terriers would have liked it to this year. The Raiders, as Orville mentioned, they're on the upswing. Young squad, former Friday Night Locker Room player of the game, Jalen Mitchell, another huge game last week. Steven Garcia playing linebacker, a 9th grader, making a lot of tackles. Lyons does it all. He's a quarterback. He's a safety. I think Rockledge is going to beat Titusville. A month ago, I wouldn't have thought that, but I think the Raiders are going to win the game.
Next up, Space Coast at Satellite.
You know, you look at Space Coast last week, they played Palm Bay, and their running back, Corn Felton, was held in check by the Palm Bay Pirates, only getting 26 yards on the ground, while Satellite lost to Rockledge 47-16. You're not going to hold Corn Felton down every week. Palm Bay was able to do it because of their very stout defense. I don't think the Satellite Scorpions have that defense to stop Corn Fulton and the Vipers. I like the Vipers this week.
Steve?
Yeah, I agree. I think Fulton's too much of a handful. He runs good speed, power back when he needs to be a power back. Satellite, understand, had a nice homecoming last week.
Yeah.
You know, good for them. But on the football field, you know, it's been a struggle to find the wins. And Space Coast up and down, but I think Space Coast will be up this week. The Vipers are going to win.
Okay, guys. Next up, Cocoa Beach at Father Lopez.
Cocoa Beach coming in with a 1-6 record. They have not been very good this year either, struggling over there on the beach side. Father Lopez, however, 3-4. Cocoa Beach with a bye week last week. Father Lopez lost last week to Trinity Catholic 55-13, but I'll take their overall record of 3-4 to Cocoa Beach over Cocoa Beach, as I like the green wave in this one.
You know, at times the Minutemen have looked pretty good. We covered the very first game of the year when they hosted Orangewood Christian, and they look good. They look good. You know, it's tough. They're playing Beachside. They're playing some good football teams. They're just not winning the games as many as they would like. I think Father Lopez at home is going to win the game, but it's going to be close. Those are 2 evenly matched teams if you look at their records, or not necessarily the records, but look who they played, and it's going to be a close football game, but I'm unfortunately, I think Father Lopez is going to win the game.
You know, Zach, you can maybe blame a little bit of the Cocoa Beach's record on Steve and I, because we put out to the world that David Demeter was going to be a monster running back this year. All the defensive coordinators in the area picked up on what we said, and they've stopped him, you know, week after week. And we always said, as David Demeter goes, so does Cocoa Beach, and everybody's kind of put the stop to him.
Next up, guys, Holy Trinity at Lake Highland Prep.
Well, you know, you can write a page or two, really, on the excitement that Holy Trinity and head coach Nate Hooks and his staff is bringing to that program down there in North Melbourne. You know, they continue to win, you know, week after week. They beat Archbishop Curley last week 48-13 to run their record to 6-1 overall. They beat MCC, which a lot of people didn't think they were going to be able to do. They have one more hurdle to go. I believe they're already in the playoffs, or
yeah.
Okay. So it's only a 3-team district. So their next hurdle will be John Carroll. Not this week, but that will be the one they go to. They're 1-0 in the district, and a big win over John Carroll would put them at the top of the heap there. But Deshaun Corbin, 13 carries for 184 yards, and a 90-yard kickoff return. That guy does it all for them. And you take Jock Perry from the quarterback position. He threw for 90 yards, completing. He only threw 6 passes, completed them all for 90 yards. So Nate Hooks, they're running the ball. Perry's throwing the ball just enough to keep the defense, off on their toes. And I think Nate Hooks gets another win. I really do.
Well, I hope you're right. I don't know that you are. Lake Highland Prep gave Astronaut fits last week. They're so evenly matched. So I asked myself, could Holy Trinity beat Astronaut? And I don't know that they could, and I don't know that they could compete with them for too long. I think Lake Highland Prep they're a 4A, Holy Trinity's 3A, and oftentimes that doesn't mean a lot because John Carroll in 3A can beat a whole lot of teams in 4A. But, the Tigers are good. They're very good, but I think Lake Highland Prep at home is going to be a little bit too strong for Holy Trinity. I hope I'm wrong. I'd like to see the Tigers win, but I don't think they will.
Big game for Merritt Island Christian taking on Santa Fe Catholic. Merritt Island Christian will be home for this one.
Well, I don't know how big a game it is if you're a Merritt Island Christian fan because Santa Fe's coming in with a 7-0 record. They're unbeaten. They're averaging 35 points a football game. It's going to be tough for the Merritt Island Christian Cougars to stop that firepower. I'm going to have to take Santa Fe Christian on this one.
Yeah, Santa Fe Christian hasn't lost a game yet. They haven't played a lot of strong teams either. So oftentimes you look at that, but you have to give teams credit when they're this deep into the season and they haven't lost, no matter who they play.
Right.
The Cougars, they surprised me last week. I thought they would go on the road and come home with a win. They played well, but came up short. It's going to be a tough one for them. I think Santa Fe's going to win the game.